Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. Oh gosh, Kelly is right. It's pie day. Make sure you eat pie today. Chicken pot pie, pizza pie, or normal pies. Like normal people. Apple pie. I forgot to share my screen. Alright. We are back to the OJ trial. There we go. There's my screen. We didn't flip the video over yesterday when we were done, like we should have.
The 21st. Thank you, counsel. Morning, counsel. All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, and Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark and Mr. Darden. The jury is not present. Counsel, is there anything we need to address before we resume with the jury?
Yes, I think there was a couple of things, Your Honor.
Mr. Cochran.
Just 1 second.
I see Mr. Jones is here, too.
Mr. Bailey will lead out on this while we get Mr. Shepard.
All right, good morning, Mr. Bailey.
Please, the court, subsequent to our conference on Friday on this same subject, a new affidavit has been executed and I believe served on counsel in the court.
I have received that.
Adding an essential fact, in addition to that, because there's been so much controversy, I asked Mr. Jones to come in this morning and address the court. I know it's been alleged that he was quoted as saying there was no problem, and I think we could get that cleared up on the record.
All right, Mr. Jones. All right, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, I am representing Mrs. Lopez. Early on, I submitted a letter to all parties expressing my concern and apprehension that she might not remain available because of her concern about losing her privacy at home and losing her employment because of the publicity. About a week ago, I received a third-hand message that she had left Los Angeles for El Salvador, and I relayed that to all parties. As it turns out, she had not left. She was only seeking some privacy and comfort from the publicity. But that ended when Channel 34 found her location and broadcast it everywhere. I met with her last Friday. I was present when she reviewed the affidavit and signed it that Mr. Bailey referred to. I know that at that time she reluctantly agreed to remain for another week. I know on Saturday she called me. She was very upset, threatening to leave Los Angeles. Last night she called me at home and said, Channel 7 is out in front of the house. I'm thinking of leaving before the end of the week. And I offer that to the court for whatever it's worth. I know that the defense has asked to either take her out of order or to do a conditional exam. She's available for either one of those. We're going almost week to week on her situation.
All right, to your knowledge, Mr. Jones, has she actually purchased any airline tickets yet?
Not to my knowledge, no.
All right, because most people, I think there's some advantage to making your reservations a week or 2 weeks in advance, and my recollection is Continental only flies there every other day or something to that effect.
I understand, and I would agree in a normal situation where there are credit cards and things of that nature, but my impression is that this lady who is working as a live-in housekeeper does not have access to those items and would probably make a last-minute purchase or just simply disappear within Los Angeles. I lost her for a week. I just simply could not find her.
All right, to your knowledge, has she been subpoenaed by either side?
On Friday, she acknowledged that she had been subpoenaed by the defense.
For what date?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Any guess?
I believe that it was approximately a month or two off.
I think it's that second week in March that we've agreed on. All right. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Mr. Darden?
I'm in trial in Department 8 if I'm needed for Department 108.
All right, let me see if Mr. Darden has any questions or comments regarding your comments to the court. My apologies to the other court for delaying you. Good morning, Mr. Darden.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Jones's comments this morning are in stark contrast, I believe, to what Rosa Lopez apparently told KMEX, Channel 34, just this past Friday. And she told a reporter from that television station that she did not want to return to El Salvador, that she feared persecution in El Salvador, and that she had lost 2 sons in the Civil War there, and that she didn't want to go to El Salvador. She didn't indicate that she wanted to leave the city of Los Angeles. She indicated only that she wanted her privacy. She told KMEX that she wanted to testify, that she would testify in court if required to do so, and that she would accept a subpoena to testify in court. I don't know where Mr. Jones gets this new account, this new version from Ms. Lopez that perhaps she might leave the country, but that is in stark contrast to what she told KMEX. Also significant.
Any videotape of this interview?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I have a copy for the court, and I will present it to the court. But something else that was interesting in terms of what she apparently told this
Let me ask you one other
reporter.
question before we proceed. Just an informational question. Mr. Darden, was that, I take it that interview by KMEX was done in Spanish?
It is in Spanish, and Ms. Lopez is not live on the tape. The reporter apparently spent 2 hours with her and came out and spoke on camera. Okay, so this is the reporter's account of what she had just been told by Rosa Lopez.
So we have a double hearsay?
Yeah, we have a double hearsay issue here. But something else that the reporter indicated on Channel 34 was that Rosa Lopez told her that Mr. Jones had been encouraging her to return to El Salvador and had repeated to her often and constantly that she could return to El Salvador at any time she wanted, which raises some questions in the minds of the prosecution, Your Honor, and that is, why would they come here and file these affidavits repeatedly, claiming that she's about to leave the country when it appears, or at least there is some indication, that they are encouraging her to leave the country? I don't think that the court should accept Rosa Lopez's affidavit or declaration in this matter. I think that what is necessary is the court, if the court is inclined to do so, I think what the court should do is require Rosa Lopez to appear here under oath, and let's get to the bottom of this.
Well, if you recall, the procedure, I think, under 1335 indicates that during the course of the examination, if the court makes a finding that the threat to the witness or the travel plans are not imminent, then the court can cancel at that time any conditional examination. But, Mr. Darden, I think you're sort of in a have to make a tactical decision whether or not you would want to have a conditional examination, probably in this case on videotape, subject to, of course, the 240 unavailability finding at the time that the defense wants to present that testimony, versus the ability to cross-examine that person live in front of the jury, although out of order. So that's a tactical decision that I think, have you contemplated?
Your Honor, we have no interest in allowing the defense to call this person out of order. We don't think they've provided sufficient grounds for the court to conclude that she's about to leave the country and that a conditional examination ought to be allowed. She has said that she is willing to testify, and she has indicated that she is not planning to leave the country. She should wait and testify in the defense case if that's what they want her to do. We don't consider her to be credible. They do. They think she's a material witness, a critical witness in their case. We're looking forward to hearing her testify in front of the jury.
All right, let me ask you this then, Mr. Darden. Knowing what you know about Ms. Lopez, what would your time estimate be for a conditional examination? Hour? 2 hours? I ask you this merely for scheduling purposes.
3 hours.
All right.
I'd also like to indicate, if I may, Your Honor, that if Ms. Lopez is claiming that she's been harassed, she has not been harassed by the prosecution. We have made no attempt to contact her directly at all.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Darden. All right, Mr. Bailey, do you want to respond to any of the comments by Mr. Darden?
I do, Your Honor. I think you ought to totally disregard the second-hand reports by a news person who allegedly interviewed Ms. Lopez. That person could have come in here and told you what was said, if in fact it was said, or it may be just a giant embellishment in order to get a story. But all that aside, I sat with Mr. Cochran and her counsel in Mr. Cochran's office Friday night after we left you. And I heard what she said then, and it is true. Her son was killed in the Civil War because he was a pilot. And she talked to me about that. But I think her position is she would like to get away from the harassment at any level, and it continues. Channel 7 was out there, as Mr. Jones has told you. And in the balancing involved, as against the possible consumption of a few hours to create a videotape, which meets the criteria to have evidentiary status before this jury if the witness disappears, as against the calamitous problem that occurs if everybody guesses wrong, you deny the examination, and she does go, and you have no means to get her back, and we can't find her to depose her down there. It seems to me that the balance in the scales of justice is very heavily weighted toward ensuring the bet. There is so little to lose on the one hand, and so much to lose on the other. Now, the focal point of this witness testimony, as I'm sure Your Honor understands, is presently opposed by a dog. A dog has announced that murder was occurring at 10:15, if I understand the prosecution's opening and its evidence so far. This witness says at 10:15, this man's automobile, which is cast as an instrument of murder in this case, and they're locked in. They can't separate O.J. Simpson and that Bronco in their evidence. It's too late. That car was where it is usually parked when it's at home, and that is right outside the Rockingham entrance. And she saw it there as she routinely walked a pet. That's pretty simple evidence. Furthermore, the prosecution, which is quick to say now that they don't believe her, never talked to her except through the person of Mark Furman, who talked to her that morning. And she told him she heard strange things. And he said, I'll send someone back to interview. And to this day, no one has ever come back to interview her. Now, this woman's story needs to be perpetuated. I don't think she wants to go to El Salvador, and we are not encouraging her. Mr. Jones is not a member of the defense team. He's her lawyer. But she does desperately want to stop having people shove a microphone in her face every time she walks out the door. Now, she's moved several times to try to avoid that and has been unsuccessful.
Mr. Bailey, what is your time estimate for the conditional examination?
Direct examination, 30 minutes tops.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Oh.
If I might, I would encourage the court to have the reporters who spoke to Rosa Lopez this past Friday appear here in court and provide the court with their account of what Rosa Lopez told her.
Well,
And
Mr.
if
Darden,
Rosa-
let me suggest this, and forgive me for interrupting you. Let me suggest this. The statute does say that the court can examine whether or not the claim that they're going to leave is bona fide made at the time of the conditional examination. I can't visit this issue. And if I find that it's a subterfuge or something else, then I can cancel the conditional examination and just order the witness to appear on a date certain. I can do that. What I would suggest we do, now that I have the time estimate, I'm going to set the code says that if an affidavit supporting the allegation that's a necessary witness or a material witness is going to leave, then I am required to set a date for a conditional examination. 3 days. 3 days from. It's a good thing they didn't have 3. 3 days from today will be Friday, as is indicated by the code. I'm going to set this for 9 a.m. Friday morning. and we'll take it up, and if you think you have a witness who will testify to that issue, have that person here. All right, Mr. Jones, if you will have your client here 9 a.m. Friday, please.
I will, Your Honor, and although I don't really feel a need to address Mr. Darden's comments on my credibility, I would like to indicate to the court that
Well,
not...
Mr. Jones, you're speaking to me, and I understand the situation which is going on here. You and I are well acquainted with each other. I'm always happy to see you come into my court, Mr. Jones. You know that.
I appreciate that, Your Honor, and not once have I encouraged Mrs. Lopez to leave. What I have said is when she asked me, why did they arrest Mary Ann Gertjes, I told her she would not be arrested. She was a citizen. She was free to come and go. If she stayed here, she would not be arrested. If she left, she would not be arrested. That was the extent of my conversation with her. It's the height of stupidity for anybody to think that I would urge Mrs. Lopez to leave the country and deprive the defense of this witness. I don't understand why they are fighting against taking her out of order and prefer to roll the dice that she will leave and deprive everybody of her testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
That is not for you to understand, Mr. Jones. Your Honor, while Mr. Jones is here, would you ask Mr. Jones to remain for one moment, please? Mr. Jones, when can we interview your client, if at all?
He asked that off the record, Your Honor. He asked that. That's for sure.
No, this isn't for floor show.
Mr. Cochran.
We'll
Mr.
be-
Jones, will your witness be available for the prosecution to be interviewed?
Your Honor, upon their request and giving me a time and place, I will relay that to her and make every effort to have her available.
All right.
This is grandstanding. I don't need it, and I really don't have time.
All right, Mr. Jones, I'll coordinate any meetings through the court clerk. Thank you very much, sir.
Anytime, any place, tomorrow, the day after, Your Honor, will be fine with us.
All right.
Apparently, the prosecution expects to defame the witness on the one hand and get a
Well,
friendly interview on the other.
Mr. Bailey, thank you. All right, Mr. Scheck, is there something we need to address on the DNA, other scientific testing?
Woo!
I just was conferring with Mr. Hodgman, and he'll be down at the morning break. One thing before I address the substantive matter, I just want to say for the court that I think everything went very, very well, and that there was a great deal of professionalism on the part of the Los Angeles Police Department, Mr. Raquel, the SID person who went, Robert Horn from the New York State Police, and James Kennedy, and everybody was working till 2, 3 in the morning, and I felt remiss unless I was very cooperative, very professional on the part of Mr. Clark and Mr. Hodgman, and so we're grateful for that.
Well, I was pleased nobody was calling me at home over the weekend.
Right, I figured you might be. The one point I wanted to make before we began the proceedings today was a proposal for the court with respect to the evidence and how it came in, and maybe just a statement to the jury, because my recollection is that after Ms. Clark took the glove and the watch cap out of its original packaging and then put it into 2 separate plastic bags, and at that point we raised an objection that it should not be packaged that way. Ms. Clark agreed not to have it packaged that way, at which point the glove and the watch cap was then put back into the original paper bags, and then 2 separate plastic envelopes were created that contained, as it turns out, trace evidence from both objects. Excuse me for a second. So I think that would be important to explain to the jury, and I think it should come from the court, exactly what transpired, and that since they left, these objects are now in the packaging that they are, and the events that led to them doing it in a simple, factual, descriptive way.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scheck. Ms. Clark, any comment on Mr. Scheck's proposal to advise the jury regarding the repackaging of those 2 items? And what is their, Mr. Scheck, what is their current status right now? Are they still, those two items still being examined and tested?
Oh, well, the terms is that those items were just items that we could look at and examine.
Right.
With respect to...
No, I'm just curious as to where they are at this moment.
Oh, I think they're here, aren't they? Well, everything that... what's back? Nothing? They were supposed to be on a courier
one knows
and
where
be
they
here
are.
this morning, so...
I don't know.
I'd have to ask Mr. Hodgman about that, but I know that they flew it out yesterday afternoon.
All right. Ms. Clark, how do you intend to proceed with this evidence this morning? How do you intend on proceeding this morning with that evidence since the courier has not returned it?
Well, I would like to obviously have it back for the balance of Detective Lang's testimony. There's going to be quite a bit more testimony about what he did at the crime scene.
Okay.
So that's a problem. The other thing is that I have no objection to the jury being informed that in order to preserve trace and biological evidence on the items, they were repackaged because it's just a better procedure. But the problem I have in the repackaging, Your Honor, is that the jury's not going to be able to see the evidence. It's going to be in a brown paper bag.
Well, no, at the appropriate time, they'll be allowed to look at it in an appropriate manner.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to have to...
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I mean, they've seen enough photographs of it that they don't need to see it up close and personal to know what it is at this point.
Okay.
So I take it you can proceed this morning, however, using photographs of those two items. Is that
Yes,
correct?
and I will. As
All right.
I understand it now, I've just been informed that the items are now at SID and they'll be back in court as soon as possible.
All right, they're being logged back in and then returned.
Exactly.
Fine. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scheck. Thank you,
There
Ms.
is
Clark.
also, however, another item. There are a couple of other items that have not been returned yet that I was going to get to later on in the testimony. If I could confer with Mr. Scheck briefly, find out
Certainly.
where they're at.
Fake sidebar. Fake.
I'm informed that it will not be a problem, so
All right.
we can proceed.
All right, let me see counsel at the sidebar with the court reporter before we get started with the jury.
Real sidebar. Real.
All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jurors, please.
Do you have pepper near you? Because it could just be pepper.
Small jury room. We start every morning at 9 o'clock, and there are various issues that I need to address with the attorneys out of your presence before we get started every morning. And today was like no other. My planned schedule to get these things done in a few minutes was a little optimistic. So I just wanted to explain to you that we have been out here on the record with the court reporter working ever since 9 o'clock. And we will, from time to time, have to take what appear to you to be breaks very soon into the proceeding, but that's because the court reporter and the staff have been working a significant period of time, and they need breaks as well. All right. Detective Lang, would you please resume the witness stand? All right. Good morning, Detective Lang. You're reminded that you are still under oath, sir. Ms. Clark, you may continue with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe when we left off, Detective Lang, you had indicated that there was a reason why you did the walkthrough with Detective Phillips when you went to the crime scene at 875 South Bundy.
Yes,
And the reason that you indicated was?
so that Detective Phillips could point out to me the evidence at the crime scene and caution me against disturbing any of that evidence.
Now, prior to that night, sir, had you met Detective Ron Phillips or Detective Mark Furman ever before? No, it has not.
Overruled.
No, I've never met either man.
All right, Detective Lang, would you just sort of pull that microphone up a little bit closer to you there? I think you can pull it in, too. There you go. Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. All right, I think you indicated that at the rear of the location, back by the alley, did you notice a car there parked in the driveway?
Yes.
And what kind of car was that?
It was a Jeep, a Grand Cherokee Jeep.
What color was it?
It was black in color.
Notice anything unusual about that Jeep?
I noticed that the right front passenger door was cracked. As in open, not damaged at all.
Now, at some point, did you go inside the house?
Yes.
Again, you already indicated, I think, to us that you went in once, briefly.
Yes, initially when we arrived at the rear, we did a walkthrough to the outside, then west down the walkway, and then re-entered the house through the garage.
And when you re-entered the house through the garage, where did you go?
We went to the second level.
And on the second level, what did you find?
I observed what appeared to be the master bedroom towards the front of the house on the second level, and I entered the bedroom and made some observations in there.
What did you see?
I observed that the television was on. The bed appeared to be made but rumpled. There were 2 or 3 candles, I believe, lit in the bedroom. There were lights on upstairs. I walked into the bathroom and observed 2 or 3 other candles to be lit around the tub.
Did you say there were lights on in the master bedroom?
Yes,
And did you see lights on in the bathroom?
yes,
In the master bedroom, sir, did you see any evidence of ransacking?
no,
See drawers pulled out?
no,
Did you see any jewelry spilled on the floor?
no,
You see any shelves removed?
no,
Any clothing in the closet seem to be disturbed or thrown about?
no,
Any signs of a struggle, like dents in the wall?
no,
Blood on the floor?
no,
Blood on the walls?
no,
Bloody shoe prints on the ground, on the carpet?
no,
And what about in the master bathroom? Did you notice any evidence of a struggle in there? Any evidence of blood?
I noticed some staining, reddish staining on the throw rug in the bathroom. Aside from that, no.
Did you later request that that staining be tested for the presence or absence of blood,
Yes,
and the result was negative?
that's correct.
Did you notice anything disturbed in the bathroom in the way of drawers pulled out,
No,
items thrown on the floor?
no,
Any bloody shoe prints on the floor in the bathroom?
no,
All right, and you saw candles in the bathroom as well.
that's correct.
Had you earlier seen any candles in any other portion of the house?
Earlier, I observed candles in the living room area of the house, the first level.
Those were also lit?
Yes, they were.
Did you have a discussion with anyone acquainted or related to Nicole Brown concerning her a habit of lighting candles in the house?
Yes,
And what did you learn?
Sustained.
And after you looked in the master bathroom, what did you do next?
I proceeded back down the stairs and out the rear of the location.
Did you look into any other rooms upstairs? Other than
Yes, upstairs I did look into what appeared to be the kids' rooms that were west of the main bedroom. Looked in both of those rooms, an adjacent bathroom, and there was a sun deck up on a third level that I looked at.
what did you see in the children's rooms?
Nothing remarkable.
Any evidence of ransacking?
No,
Signs of a struggle?
no,
Or blood?
no,
Drawers pulled out?
no,
Items thrown around?
no,
Bloody shoe prints?
no.
Did you notice any leaves on the floor that were similar to the leaves you saw outside the residence?
Inside the house?
Right, inside
No.
the house. And you said you went up to a sunroom on the third level?
Yes.
What is that? Can you describe it?
There was a small, what I describe as a sun deck with, I believe, a chaise lounge.
That's all?
I believe there was a telephone up there.
Anything else?
I don't recall anything else being up there.
Did that appear to be part of the roof, or was it a separate floor?
There was a stairwell going up to it, and I suppose it could be construed as part of a roof.
See any evidence of a disturbance there?
No.
Then what did you do, sir, after you went to that third level?
At that time, I proceeded down the stairs to the ground level where I exited through the rear and out to the alley, down the alley, and then around to the front of the residence where I met my partner.
So you went out through the garage, sir?
Yes.
Where was it you met up with your partner?
It was in the street in front of the location,
Around Bundy and Dorothy?
in that vicinity, yes.
Your partner was?
Detective Philip Van Etter.
And was he alone out there in the street when you met him?
No, he was with Detective Furman.
What happened next?
I discussed with Detective Van Adder and Phillips, who was there, Detective Phillips and Furman, what we would do in relation to the crime scene. And I was informed that
That's what you formed, you're saying,
Sustained.
You were who talked to you? You were informed of something by who?
Detective Van Adder.
And based on what he told you, did you do something?
Yes.
What did you do?
I don't get it. Is Cochran, like, it sounds like to me, instead of listening to everything and trying to figure out, he is just ready to object. That's it. He's there ready to object.
We decided to go to Mr. Simpson's residence where we would attempt to make a death notification.
Okay. So let me interrupt you, I'm sorry, sir, but what did Detective Van Adder tell you? I think it goes to explain subsequent conduct, Your Honor.
I don't think you have an offer of proof on this. May I speak with counsel?
Yes.
Your Honor, did we concur with the witness briefing?
Is that legal? That doesn't feel legal to me.
Yes, Your Honor. The subject matter to which the witness would testify would constitute hearsay, but we're not
I'm
offering
right
it for the
here.
truth of the matter. We're only offering it for the effect on the listener to explain subsequent conduct.
Right. It's limited for that purpose. It's probably no hearsay, but for that purpose, we will overrule the objection.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the evidence that you're about to hear, the statement that was made to Detective Lang, is offered to you only for the purpose of then explaining what Detective Lang did in response to receiving that information, and should be considered by you only for that limited purpose. Ms. Clark.
Detective Lang, you indicated that Detective Van Adder told you something after you came out of the condominium and met with him in the street.
Yes.
And what was it he told you?
He stated that the Commander Bushy had spoke with Detective Phillips and wished the detectives to make a personal notification to Mr. Simpson regarding the death.
So Commander Bushy had ordered that a personal notification be made to Defendant Simpson, and you discussed that with Detective Van Adder?
That was part of the discussion, yes.
What was the other part of the discussion?
That we would want to speak with Mr. Simpson, get some type of an initial statement from Mr. Simpson in regards to our investigation, to meet him, to see that his children had been picked up or cared for, and to probably leave Furman and Phillips with Mr. Simpson and return to the crime scene to do the investigation.
Okay, now why did you want to go and talk to Mr. Simpson? What do you think, what were you hoping to get from that interview?
Well, initially we don't know. One of the most important things in a murder investigation is to talk to people. And we certainly weren't talking to anyone else at that point. We knew that Mr. Simpson had been estranged from Mrs. Simpson. He may have information and could assist us at the crime scene, doing the crime scene investigation. I think it was important that we meet Mr. Simpson, that he should know who we are, because we certainly would be working with him in the future.
And by working with him, you mean?
In an attempt to get background information, perhaps on his ex-wife. Again, we don't know until we talk to him, to get any information we could regarding his ex-wife.
For example?
For example, associates,
You mean friends of hers?
friends, associates, any problems she may have been experiencing in the recent past, any threats she may have received. We really don't know until we sit down and speak with someone what they have to say.
You mean threats that she may have received from someone else?
Yes.
Can you pull the microphone a little closer to you there? Yeah, twist it up if you can. There you go. Why don't you speak right into it? I'm getting high signs from jurors that they're having a hard time hearing some of this. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Now, is that commonly done in your experience as an investigating officer with the next of kin?
Yes.
At that particular time, sir, were you aware of what other next of kin you might have been able to contact?
I had none.
And was there any indication as to the identification of the male victim that we now know as Ron Goldman?
No.
Did you have any information as to the whereabouts in terms of the residence of Mr. Simpson with relation to where you were at 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
And what was that information?
That he lived a short distance away, and that was only a few minutes drive time.
Did that play any part in your decision to go and make notification personally?
Yes.
And why?
Because of the time involved, it was a short period of time that we would be gone. We did want to get back to the crime scene and conduct that investigation.
Can you tell us, sir, who is Commander Bushy?
Commander Bush is a commander of police of the West Bureau, LAPD.
Where is he placed in terms of the hierarchy in the LAPD?
Well, a commander, we have 4 bureaus in the LAPD, and the commander would be one of two commanders who would be the number 2 man or number 2 person within that bureau, so he'd be right below a deputy chief.
So you have Chief Williams, a deputy chief, and then commander?
Essentially, there's a few people in between, but yes.
All right, after you made the determination to go and speak to Mr. Simpson and give notification, what happened next?
Detective Furman got information, stated he could get information on how to get to the location. I had asked Furman and Phillips to get in their car and that we would follow them in our car up to the location.
And did Detective Furman go and attempt to locate an address for the defendant?
Yes.
What happened next?
Shortly after, Furman and Phillips got into their police car, and Van Adder and I got into ours, and we proceeded to the Rockingham location.
All right, now, can you tell us why all 4 of you went to that location?
Once again, it was my intent, if Mr. Simpson were home, to get some type of an initial interview with him, along with the notifications, and to care for the children. And it was my intent to leave Phillips and Furman behind with Mr. Simpson to assist him in any notifications or anything else that he needed, and for Van Adder and I to return to the crime scene to conduct the investigation.
Okay. So at the time you left for 360 Rockingham, what was your intent in terms of how long you were going to spend there at Rockingham?
As short a time as possible, just to meet Mr. Simpson, get some type of an initial rapport with him, any information he might have, and to return to the Bundy location.
Okay, why do you want to establish a rapport? I mean, why do you need to do that?
I think it's very important to establish a rapport, especially with persons who are close to the victim, to get information. They need to know you. They need to have confidence in you so they can share information with you. Once again, the only way you're going to learn anything is by talking to people.
And I think you indicated earlier that the next of kin is somebody you'd be working with. Can I finish the question?
Yes.
The next of kin is somebody that you intended you would be working with throughout the case. And how does that work? Why would that be?
Overruled.
It would be important to work with that family member to get background information on the victim, to get other information as to friends and acquaintances, any personal problems that that victim might have had in the past. Again, you really don't know until you sit down with that person and talk to them.
Okay. Is it typical that you maintain an involvement with the next of kin throughout a case?
Yes.
Excuse me, counsel, would you approach without the court reporter, please? Mr. Cochran, Mr. Clark. All right, Ms. Clark, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam. I'm sorry, thank you. All right, so you drove to Rockingham, is that right?
Yes.
About how long did that drive take you, sir?
Approximately 5 minutes.
Can you tell us what route you took?
My recollection is northbound on Bundy to to, I believe, Sunset, westbound on Sunset to Rockingham, and then northbound on Rockingham.
Now, when you drove northbound on Rockingham, what did you see?
We drove approximately 2 blocks. Van Etter and I were behind Phillips and Furman, and as we approached the location, I observed a white Ford Bronco parked at the curb near what I later found to be the Rockingham gate.
Anything particular draw your attention to that Bronco?
Yes, it appeared to be stuck out in the street somewhat. The rear end of it appeared to be stuck out in the street just a bit.
I'm sorry, you indicated...
Yes, the rear end of the Bronco appeared to be...
Wait, hold on.
Out of curiosity, what is that?
Tamagotchi. I don't know what it is.
What is it? A calculator or
Yeah.
is it turned off?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, sir. I did not hear your answer about what drew your attention to the Bronco.
It appeared to be somewhat, the rear end appeared to be somewhat out on the
Bye,
street.
Kelly.
And it was parked by itself. There were no other vehicles around it.
And where did you go after seeing you? Did you drive past the Bronco?
Yes, we drove past the Bronco to Ashford. We followed Phillips and Furman turning eastbound on Ashford, where they pulled to the curb just west of the Ashford gate. My partner and I pulled behind them and parked at the curb.
People's Exhibit number 64.
All right, showing you People 64, sir. Can you tell us if you recognize what's shown in that photograph?
Yes, that's the, I turned the Ashford gate at 360 North Rockingham.
That's the Ashford Gate, you said?
Yes,
And where in relation to the Ashford Gate did you park,
to the right of that location at the curb.
as shown in this photograph?
Yes,
So it'd be to the right as we face it?
yes.
Now, if you can, tell us, sir, about what time it was when you got there.
Approximately 5:05 a.m.
Now, do you see a car parked just to the east of the Ashford Gate in this photograph, sir?
Yes,
On Ashford?
yes,
And did you see that car parked in that position there that night?
yes,
Did you determine whose car that was?
yes.
Whose?
Vehicle was registered to Cato Kalin.
As it appears to be a black vehicle in this photograph. Were you able to determine what kind it is?
I don't recall. It was a Thunderbird, I believe.
After you parked your cars, what did you do next?
I proceeded towards the Ashford Gate behind Phillips and Furman, and I observed, I believe initially it was Detective Phillips, walked to appeared to be an intercom on the gate, the left of the gate, as you're looking at this photograph, and attempt to rouse someone inside the residence through the intercom.
And after they rang for the first time, was there any response?
No, there were 2 or 3 attempts by Phillips, and I believe Furman may have made an attempt also.
And was there any response to any of those attempts?
No.
So how many times did they try to raise somebody by pushing the buzzer at the gate?
I think at least 3, perhaps more.
Did you happen to observe whether there were any cars in the driveway?
There appeared to be a vehicle parked on the other side of the driveway, which would have been facing, heading to the west towards the Rockingham gate.
And did you notice whether there were any lights on in the house?
There was one light on that I could see that appeared to be emanating from somewhere between the first and the second level, out through the first and second level windows.
Did you notice anything else outside the gate that drew your attention?
Outside the gate?
Outside the gate. Let me direct your attention, sir, if you can, I don't know if you can see on the screen where I'm pointing to. If you could look up at the screen.
Referring to the West Tech sign?
I am.
Yes.
Is that a West Tech sign?
Yes.
Did you notice it there that night?
Yes.
And what is West Tech, sir?
West Tech is a security service, a residential, I believe primarily a residential security service in the Brentwood area.
Did one of you have a cell phone that night?
Yes, Detective Phillips.
And did he attempt to use it to contact West Tech?
Yes, I believe he first attempted to contact the watch commander at West Los Angeles Division in an attempt for him to contact West Tech.
And do you happen to know what time he called the watch commander for that purpose?
I believe it must have been approximately at 5:10 a.m.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? Are you familiar with the phone number for the private line to the watch commander at West LA?
If I saw it, I'd probably know it.
Showing you what's been marked as People 61, sir. Do you tell us if you recognize that phone number?
Yes, I believe that's the private number of the watch commander.
At West LA Division?
Yes.
So what happened next?
Detective Phillips was
I love doing that. I love it. I love it.
attempting to contact West Tech. After he'd finished, he mentioned something to the effect that
Sustained.
I was
Bill, I'm surprised you're awake after last night.
informed that
All right,
Well-
hold on, Detective Lang. Ms. Clark,
Hold on.
ask another question, please.
Detective Phillips, did he inform you of something, sir?
yes,
And did that something cause you to do something else?
well, yes,
I ask that it be admitted to explain subsequent conduct, Your Honor.
What did you do after you received this information?
basically I did nothing after the initial information that led to something.
Ms. Clark, next question.
All right. You received some information, did you, from Detective Phillips, sir?
Yes,
And after you received that information, what happened next?
I observed a West Tech patrol vehicle southbound on Rockingham approaching Ashford. And I observed Detective Phillips wave the vehicle down in the street and walk over to the vehicle and talk with the driver, the security guard.
And did that West Tech unit then remain there?
Yes.
Now, while that was occurring, while Detective Phillips was making phone calls on his cell phone and the West Tech unit arrived, did you observe any other activity by one of the detectives occurring?
Yes, I observed Detective Furman walk south on Rockingham towards the Bronco that I had alluded to earlier, and approach the driver's side where I saw him looking at the vehicle. For a few moments, and then walk back towards my location, which at the time was in the intersection of Rockingham and Ashford.
Yeah, where were you positioned as you made the observations concerning Detective Phillips and Detective Furman?
I was in the, like I said, in the intersection around Ashford, the intersection of Ashford and Rockingham.
This is People's Exhibit number 63.
People 63.
All right, showing you, sir, People's 63. Can you tell us if you recognize the location shown there?
Yes, that's looking in a almost a westerly, almost a southerly direction towards the Rockingham location.
All right, the street that is coming to that disappears into the left-hand lower corner of the photograph, what street is that?
That's Ashford.
And the street that it intersects with, that actually dead ends, excuse me. Let me re-ask that question. The street on which you see a car parked that disappears into the left-hand side of the photograph as you face it is what street?
That's Ashford Street.
All right. And the street that it intersects with that disappears into the lower left-hand corner as you face the photograph is what?
Rockingham.
You see, and do you see the corner of the defendant's property that is in the sort of to the right-hand side of the photograph as you look at it?
Yes.
Is that where you were?
Yes.
There seems to be a white object at the right side of the photograph as you face it.
Yes.
Is it something white?
Yes.
And what is that?
I believe that's the white Bronco.
Is this a photograph that depicts the location on June the 13th?
Yes.
Where were you positioned, if you can tell us, based on this photograph?
Based on this photograph, more or less in the intersection towards the parkway, I guess perhaps in the middle right third of this photograph in the street.
Middle right third. How about if we have our trusty point maker? If you can guide the arrow, sir, indicate where you were.
Okay, more to the right. Probably that's a little too much. Back right about there, maybe down a bit, somewhere in that general vicinity right there.
All right, can we put an X there? Well, okay. Is that about right?
Approximately that area.
Okay. If we could put TL, thank you. And if this could be now people's...
63A.
Thank you. All right, so from that vantage point, what were you able to see in terms of the activity by the detectives on Ashford and on Rockingham?
Sorry,
Overruled.
Correction, this would be 63C.
See.
63C.
Thank you.
It's compound.
Observed Detective Furman down near the white Bronco on the right of the photo. The West Tech vehicle was probably just this side of the X, facing southbound. Detective Phillips was somewhere between there and the Ashford Gate. I believe Detective Van Adder was in my vicinity also.
And were you able to also observe what Detective Furman was doing?
Yes.
What was he doing?
I observed him looking at the white Bronco.
What happened next?
Furman walked up the street north on Rockingham towards me and mentioned that he...
That's what he mentions, yes, sir.
Sustained.
I asked her to be admitted to explain subsequent conduct.
Still the same, tells me what happened.
Does this have to do with something observed on the Bronco?
That's right.
All right, the objection will be overruled. Ladies and gentlemen, however, this statement comes in only to explain what Detective Lang did in response to hearing this information. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. And what did Detective Furman tell you?
Detective Furman stated that he believed there was blood on the door of the Bronco.
And what did you do after you heard that?
I proceeded to the Bronco with Furman, and he pointed to a reddish stain above the door handle on the driver's side.
Alright guys, this is a good breaking point. I am dead on my feet. I have hit a wall. I gotta go to bed before I go to work tonight. Thank you so much for coming out today and today and a couple hours ago yesterday. I appreciate it. I do. If you didn't catch the live earlier today, just... you don't have to. Just get the last 20 minutes because the whole beginning part is like for my nurses. So we will do more OJ maybe tomorrow. I don't know because I have to work a double tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see if I can get some sleep right now. It's iffy. Thank you so much for coming out. I'll see you all again real soon. Bye, guys.